Are you sick of tariffs? Has the word got you scared? Have you started saving instead of spending? Have you maybe not invested in your business or hired new people? Maybe you laid off people to get ready for the downturn. Well, you're alone because when I look at the numbers, the economic stats, it says a different story because retail sales were up 5.7% in April and are projected to be 4.2% in May. Now, this is in Canada, but the thing is in the States, the numbers are up as well. Consumer spending has continually gone up year after year. Now, when I say 5.7% up in April, it means 5.7% up from compared to last year. So there is growth. And it's not just month-to-month growth, it's year-over-year growth in consumer spending, even with the threat of tariffs. The other day, the U.S. Treasury Department, Secretary of Treasury, I think it's Besant. Anyway, he told the media that they collected $100 billion in tariffs, and all the money was starting to roll in from other countries. That's not how it works. And you know that, and I know that. When the States orders our oil, they order the oil at whatever the market price is. They give our oil companies that payment for that invoice. The oil gets to the border, and when they go to bring it into the country, they are stuck with another 10% bill that's issued to them through U.S. Customs. So that U.S. Customs bills are being paid. And so far it's $100 billion. And they project that it'll be $300 billion by the end of the year. Well, considering that their deficit is in the trillions of dollars when it comes to their budget spending, those billions are not going to be enough. Now, Canada will still trade with the USA. Those tariffs amounts are saying that they will. Even with tariffs on things, they will buy our products and our resources, as well as Mexico's and the rest of the world's. Because Americans want to buy things. They are the great consumers of our globe. Now, the tariffs aren't going away because Trump wants them. He loves them. He is a tariff guy because they're simple. Even at the G7, he said that Carney's ideas, some people liked them in his team, but they were complicated. And he just likes tariffs because it's easy. Stick 10%, 20% on, and in comes the money. So we know that there's going to be a blanket tariff. The question is, will it be 10%, 20%, 25%, 30%? You get the picture, right? So as of July 21st, there is a deadline to Canada-US negotiations. And if at that time, July 21st, there isn't a deal, Carney has said, we're done. We all know Trump will push it out, but will Carney? That's the question. I would be extremely disappointed if he did push it out because I'm done. I'm pretty sure you're done. And businesses want to know, okay, so can we start planning? Can we start investing? Can we start moving forward? Or are we going to stay kind of like in the unsure, insecure thing, yes, no, not really sure what to do environment that Trump has created? So don't be surprised, don't be shocked if there is a blanket tariff on the 21st if we don't get a deal. It's just, that's the way Trump wants it, because he wants to bring in that cash to offset his deficit spending. And we all know that's not going to be enough, but it is how he's looking at it. Of course, he thinks that it's the other countries that are paying that tax, but we know It's the American people. For tariffs sensitive industries like copper, Trump did just say he's going to put a 50% tariff on copper, steel, aluminum, lumber. The leaders of those businesses in those industries, the ones that have taken action to get ahead of this tariff nonsense, are the heroes in this trade war. Purdy's has decided that they're going to put their products in grocery stores and other retail stores. Now, this is a great idea. One, Canadians are asking for Canadian chocolate. Two, it expands their sales into other stores and helps them to offset any losses of any exports. Now, Purdy's usually just sells Purdy's in their mall stores, which, considering less and less people are going to the mall, this should have been done ages ago. And Purdy's can thank Trump for the catalyst that has made them reassess where they sell their products and put them in the stores where people can see them and buy them because they want that Canadian chocolate. Now, that is a hero move. Total hero move. Because they know that any exports are going to probably decrease their sales, and they're offsetting that decrease with new markets. And they've made the efforts, the steps to do that. At the last quarter, came out in April. The Stats Canada had this whole thing about what export companies were doing in the face of tariffs. So they looked at all the export companies and they said, okay, well, how many of them have gone to find other customers out in international waters? How many have bought product and stocked up on product in order to have the lower price in case tariffs came in? How many had gone to different markets within Canada? So all of these things they looked at, right? So those are the things that the heroes of this trade war were doing. How many of the companies that export to the States, how many of them do you think were heroes? And how many of them do you think acted like victims? And victims, that meant they did nothing because they didn't know what to do. They were waiting for someone to come and save them, waiting for someone to make sure that the tariffs wouldn't affect them, to get Donald Trump to take away the tariffs. They were looking to the government or someone to save them. So they did nothing because they didn't want to change how they did business. So how many do you think were heroes? And what percentage of those companies that export to the States do you think were victims? Well, according to the Stats Can report for the end of first quarter. Now, end of first quarter, we had tariffs for 2 months at that point. Does that change your idea of how many? I can't wait to see the second quarter, because hopefully the second quarter is going to show that the number of companies that went from victim to hero behavior rose, because after 2 months worth of tariffs, only 73% of companies that export to the US did nothing, didn't change anything in the way that they did business. So what is your company doing to get ready for a blanket tariff? Even if Carney pulls a miracle and Canada ends up with no tariffs and a free trade deal, whatever you do to help offset tariffs is going to be bonus customers, bonus income, bonus growth. So sitting around waiting for someone to save you is not going to save you. Either you're going to end up with tariffs and you've done nothing in order to to offset that decrease in business, or you just believe that it's all going to go away. So you believe that your company, even though it exports to the States, will be fine. Now, oil industry is very different. Oil industry is stuck because their delivery system goes south, north, south. There is capacity to go to the west, and luckily TMX did twin, and their capacity did go up significantly, and that helped China to cancel 90% of its oil orders to the US and buy directly from Canada instead. So that helped them to offset any loss that they would incur from a decrease in US purchasing due to tariffs. So even though they have very concrete, inflexible delivery systems, they had luckily got that together beforehand. Even without knowing the tariffs would come, because the oil industry was looking to expand, to diversify, to break that dependency on the States. And that's what your company needs to be doing if you are dependent on the States for your income. Even if you're dependent on just Canada, you should be looking to expand into the States, into Europe, into Asia. Diversity is a good thing, and it helps you have growth. And sort of the diversity in customer base will ensure that you are resilient no matter what your section of the economy does. So if you were, for example, oil prices go down, their profits go down, growth goes down, even though maybe steel is going up or logging is going up, right? So each subcategory industry in the economy has its own economy. And you want to make sure that if things aren't selling kind of in Canada for 3 months, that they are selling in Asia or Europe to offset that. So what are you doing with your business? What is your business doing if you're an employee? What is it your business doing? And how can you, as an employee, come up with an idea to help your company expand, to be resilient in today's marketplace? There's tons of ideas. I got a lot of them right up between these two ears of mine. So let's make sure that we get creative, we get innovative, and we think outside the box, because it is going to take a lot of creativity and a lot of prospecting by your sales team to cover any decrease that the American tariffs are going to have. And people, but like the stats say, people in Canada are still spending money. People in America are still spending money. The economy is not maybe shrinking. There may be a recession, but people are still wanting to buy. You just have to help your company get in front of those people, because the people that want to buy are going to be less and less and less as unemployment rises. And that's going to happen in the short term. Unfortunately, it's going to happen in the short term for those companies that are so reliant on the States, because their infrastructure, their supply chain is integrated so closely that it is very difficult for them to look to other nations or even inside of Canada for opportunities. Like I'm talking about the car industry. Manufacturing in Canada, now a lot of manufacturers in Canada did lay off people in anticipation of less orders. But unless your product can't be sold in different countries, that manufacturing should be able to switch, pivot a bit, add, expand, because they're not too integrated. So if it's a car industry, it's integrated, because to build a car, it goes from one factory to the next. But if it's a factory that where you make one thing, like nylons, you can sell those nylons across Canada, into Europe, into Asia, then do that. That way you'll be able to expand your business, you'll be able to hire more people, and you'll be able to help offset any layoffs that are happening in the car industry, automotive manufacturing industry, because they can't pivot as easily, because it means Honda would have to come in and build a whole new factory in order to employ those workers. And it's only going to make sense if they can sell enough Hondas in Canada. Do you get my drift? If you're looking for work, and because you're unemployed, you're looking for work, think about the company that you're looking at. Try to find those companies that can pivot to other markets and offer them options, offer to help them to connect with people in those different new markets. Maybe their product can be used in a different way that they just haven't thought of yet. Bring that idea to them when you're talking, when you're networking. Say, look, I got a great idea for your product, and I really would love to know what you think of it. Can we have coffee? Or can we have a conversation over Zoom? Maybe a phone call. Companies that are willing to find new solutions will be open to conversations. And those may lead to a new job for you. It's about being creative, innovative, reaching out to other people to find those opportunities, because opportunities are there. They're just harder to find. If you're new in the industry, if you're new to the workforce, there are lots of options out there for you, but you may have to get a little creative, or you may have to do something you never thought you'd do, like check out the Navy's 1-year try-it program, where they'll pay you for a year and put you in a bunch of different roles to see what the Navy's like. And then after the year, you get to decide if it's for you or if you're going to go back into the private world. If you haven't thought about a trade, being a tradesperson, reach out to the associations, all the associations of all the different trades, and say, look, I'm really interested in being a whatever the trade is, and start going to their lunches if they're in your area, contacting their membership, contacting their president, their vice president, their education person. Get involved in the association, even if you're not an apprentice yet. Because as you build those relationships, you'll find someone who will take you on as an apprentice, because you showed initiative, you showed drive, you showed commitment to the industry, to the trade. Lots of options out there. You just have to think outside the box, be a bit innovative, maybe invest a few bucks, and do the work to show up. Well, until next time, peel out.